We give praise, glory, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach, our Master, King, and Savior today. John 5:39. We're going to look at a little bit of this stuff here today. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have the love of Alahym in you. Get 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and about verse 1. See, I'm going to tell you something, boy. Now that y'all brought me that low, and now it's like none of that stuff ever even happened. It was like the weakness never even occurred. That's like I said, if it wasn't up there, if it wasn't for him, I would be dead. That's true story. There ain't no exaggeration. You know what I'm saying? I would be dead. 2 Corinthians 1 and 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahushua HaMashiach by the will of Alahym, and Timothy our brother unto the synagogue of Alahym, which is at Corinth, with all the Kadeshim which are all in Achaia. Favor be to you and shalom from Alahym our Father and from the Master Yahushua HaMashiach. Baruch be Alahym, even the Abba of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, the Abba of mercies and the Alahym of all comfort. Now sit back and look what he said now. He is the Alahym of all comfort. Now I want you to look at something, right? I want you to look at something in John chapter 13. Cause I'm going to work something and get Genesis chapter 15. He said he is the Alahym of all comfort. That means if you going to abide in him and he abides in you, then you would have to be able to comfort one another. I'm going to show examples of that. Y'all just bear with me. I'm going to work my way down with this one here. John chapter 13, verse 31. Leah and Lizzie, sit it down. Don't start it. Ain't no running. Therefore, when he was gone out, Yahushua said, now is the Son of Man esteemed, and Alahym is esteemed in him. If Alahym be esteemed in him, Alahym shall also esteem him in himself, and shall straightway esteem him. Little children, yet a little while I'm with you, you shall seek me. And as I said unto the Yahudim, whither I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you, listen to what the man tell you. A new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another. Before we even get to that Genesis 15 about comfort, this man said you ought to love one another. Listen to what he said, as I have loved you. Get John 15 and 13. That man said that we ought to love each other as he loved us. That's the commandment he gave. That you ought to love each other as I loved you. 15 and 13, listen to what he say. Make it 12. Matter of fact, make it 9. John 15 and 9. He said, as the Father hath loved me, so have I loved you. Continue ye in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things have I spoken unto you, that your joy that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. He came back around and told them this again. Listen to what he say. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. So now this is sitting back looking at that a man would esteem his friends above his own life. Now you sit back and look at something, right? Go to Genesis chapter 5, verse 29. He said he the Alahym of all comfort. And this man just sat back and said, greater love had no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. Get you 1 John chapter 2, about verse 11, go along with it. I'll get to Genesis 15 in a minute. I might not even be able to rock this 2 Samuel 15 like I was going to rock it. I had in my mind last night to do it. But if y'all willing, I'll rock it tomorrow. Because I still got Thursday, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday night, and possibly Sunday afternoon to drop more word. Yeah, sure do. Genesis 5 and 29. Make it 28. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. And he called his name Noah, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning all work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahuwah have cursed. Now I'm gonna sit back and we gonna get the definition for work, and we gonna get a definition of toil in Hebrew. This man say he gonna comfort you concerning your work. Now this man say the same commandment he say that he gave. This is the commandment he gave, that you love each other as he loved you. So if this man came and comforted you, and he the Alahym of all comfort, and you say you dwell in him and he dwell in you, then guess what you gonna have to do? And guess what happens if you don't do it? That means you done committed a sin. We look at work. The word we have here is, hold on, you might be able to hear it.
Strong's H4639.
Ma'asai. And it means deed, work, deed, thing. Done, act, work, labor, business, pursuit, undertaken, enterprise, achievement, deeds, works of deliverance and judgment. Work, thing made, work of Alahym, product. Now you see this here, this sixth thing, work or deliverance. When you comfort somebody, it's to help deliver them from something. You know what I'm saying? It's to deliver them from something, to give them some manner of comfort. Now let's look at the other thing here. And let's look at toil. When we look at toil, it means, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's the one we were looking for. Hold on.
Strong's H6093 at 7.
At 7 is the word for toil in Hebrew. At 7. It means pain, labor, hardship, sorrow, toil. So that means Mashiach said, as he had loved you, you love each other. Now we know this comfort, it turned around talking about delivering you from the, giving you comfort in your soil, in your sorrow, and in your toil, and in your pain. This is what the law say. Mashiach come back around and say, the same way I loved you, love each other. The whole world will know you my Taladim. You gonna know that I'm no, they gonna know that you my taught ones, because that's what that means. Taladim mean taught ones. So hold on. So get Isaiah 8 and 16. See, I'm sitting back, I'm being dead honest with you. You know what I'm saying? This ain't to get no sympathy for me. I'm sitting back looking at us. Hold on. Hello? 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 Shalom, Darius. What's going on, brother? You doing all right?
Yes, I'm doing all right.
For sure. Now, I'm sitting back saying, I ain't telling y'all this here to get no sympathy for me. Because I sincerely perceive from this point that y'all took me through 6 months of depression and all that low toil, and to the point where I was literally prepared to end my own life to sit back and show y'all that you do not love and care for each other like you're supposed to, and you transgressing against the man. You know, he had me saying that to y'all in bits and pieces, and I ain't never get the chance to go through it like I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? So what better way? Because just like he say in Job, who teach like Yahuwah? So you know what he turn around and do? I'll give a living example so you can see it. And I'm going to take this man through all this pain, all this sorrow, so I can comfort him, to sit back and show you it should have never got to the point where I was the first one to comfort him, because y'all should have came and did it. Because we cannot sit back and say that we his disciples and we don't love each other enough to comfort each other when we in sorrow and we in pain. It don't matter how long it take. Boy, Yahuwah will comfort you for a year straight if it take a year. He ain't gonna sit back and be like, man, that nigga ain't gonna never get right and walk away. You can't say you are Yahuwah and do that. That's why people always ask why are people divided, why we can't come together. Because we don't love each other. We don't care about each other. We only care about each other when it's convenient. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, that's Stanley.
What's going on with you, man? So we in Isaiah 8 and 16. He say, bind up the testimony and seal the Torah among my disciples. He say sealed. Remember, disciples mean the Taladim, his taught ones. This man say, if you love one another as I have loved you, the world will know that you are my taught ones. That I taught you to love each other the way I loved you. This man say, I come to comfort you from all your pain and your sorrow. That's why the book say, blessed are those that mourn, they'll be comforted. How can your brother mourn and you don't come and comfort him? And Mashiach come and comfort you? How's that possible? How can we say we the sons of the living Alahym and operate in this fashion? If we say we want our people to come together, we got to start loving each other like the man told us to do. Ain't nowhere in the world that anybody should love your brother before you do. Just like I told Kieran before I started. I'm telling you just like this here, right? And I'm going to go in the book and I'm going to show y'all this. If you see your brothers in pain and sorrow and you don't comfort them, you just didn't comfort Yahushua. You know you're going to hell. You see your brother hungry and you don't feed him, you just didn't feed Yahushua. You know you're going to hell. If you see your brother naked and you don't clothe him, you just didn't clothe Yahushua. You going to hell. Because that man said, if you didn't do it to the least of my brethren, if you did it to the least of my brethren, you did it unto me. So when you shun your brother, you shun Yahushua. Niggas will sit back and say they'll do anything for Mashiach. You's a lie if you don't do it to your brother. You's a lie. That's how serious it is. What I see this man took me through all this through, man, to sit back and show y'all, man, for the love of Alahym to be in us, we got to do a lot better than what we've been doing. A lot better. Because this thing bigger than just keeping feast days. This thing bigger than just not eating no swine. Where is the love, mercy, and compassion? When we were talking about them weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith, where is that at? Niggas worrying about hybrid animals and fruits. Niggas worrying about feast days and garments. But niggas' hearts is not right. We don't love each other properly. Man, everybody's supposed to sit back and look at it. They supposed to see Alahym when they see us by the way we love each other. That's what they supposed to see. Then they'll know there's an Alahym and Shamahim in the rats. And they'll bow down and fear his name because they'll bear the truth Alahym in you. That's what we got to get to. We ain't got no business around these Gentiles around here telling us how we supposed to love and treat each other. A Gentile will tell you see somebody in sorrow, leave him alone, he'll make you sorry. Alahym say comfort him. That's what he do. We don't do that though. 1 John 2 and 11. I'm going to show you examples in this book of righteous men that seen their brother sorrow, they were right there by his side. They ain't sit back and leave him. They ain't sit back and forsake him. They ain't sit back and wait for somebody else to come do it. That's the love of Alahym. We got to manifest that. That man say the commandment I gave you is to love one another. If we don't love each other like he loved us, we going to hell. And ain't nobody going to tell us that. I'm going to tell you today though. And I'm going to reiterate 1 John 2 and 11. Matter of fact, make it 2 and 9. But make it 2 and 8. And I'm telling you this here, this ain't got nothing to do with me. I want y'all to know that now. Please let that be known. This ain't got nothing to do with me. I believe honestly and sincerely that he just used me as a living example to sit back to teach us what we ought to do and what we should do. Ain't got nothing to do with me personally, because ain't nowhere in the world that on Sunday I'm ready to end my life and Monday I'm right back to what I was before I was depressed in November, like ain't nothing happened. Ain't nowhere in the world. They couldn't been nobody but Yahuwah. Like right back to what I wore before I even got depressed. So that means he was trying to teach us something. Especially considering he done had me talking about bearing the burdens of Mashiach for a long time. That means he was trying to teach us something. Because obviously he gonna sit back and look at the bet. You already know how y'all teach. He just don't teach with the word. He'll show it to you too. 2 and 7. Brethren, I write no new commandment unto you, but an old commandment which you have heard from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you have heard from the beginning. Again, a new commandment I write unto you, which thing is true in him and in you, because the darkness is past and the true light now shine. He that saith he is in light and hate his brother is in darkness even till now. He that love his brother abide in the light, and there is none occasion of stumbling in him. But he that hate his brother is in darkness and walk in darkness and know not whither he go, because the darkness have blinded his eyes. Now, let's look at Leviticus 19 and 17 in the law. I know I said something about Genesis 15. Don't even worry about that right now. We'll get to the Alahym all comfort in a minute. I'm going to sit back and show you what I was going to do is show you how Alahym comforted Abraham. Matter of fact, you get Genesis 15. We'll go around there to it in a minute. Let's sit back and show you how this man comfort people. Now, we sit back and we say that we want this man Ruach to dwell in us. And we want to dwell in him. and we want eternal life, then we have to take on all the attributes that he possesses. You know what I'm saying? And then we also going to look at that Mashiach bared all our burdens, all our pain. When this man say he claimed to comfort, and the word for comfort means the word for toil in Genesis 5:29, which I forget the pronunciation of the Hebrew word that fast, so forgive me on that. I'll look it up in a second. But it means the pain and the sorrow and the trouble. That he came to comfort us with that. So if we say we in him, we have to learn to recognize if our brother is in pain or in sorrow or is in trouble, that we got to come comfort him. What we sit back looking at is for the manifestation of Alahym to be shown in you because of the commandment that Mashiach gave, that if you love each other like I loved you, then the world will know that you belong to me. So that means when he say love like I love, that means that's what we got to do. We got to love just like how he loved. We can't love along the concept of Gentile framework of love or Gentile framework of dealing with things. That stuff got to be put to the side because that's not our way. It's never been the Abba way to forsake your brother in sorrow. It's never been. You don't never see Abba talking about somebody toxic or somebody's negative and I don't want nothing to do with them when they are broken down in sorrows. That's not our way. That's the heathen. Because the heathen don't love nobody. They ain't got no God. They ain't got nothing. So how can love be in them? We have to put forth them concepts to the side. You know what I'm saying? I seen somewhere they say if somebody's emotionally draining you and making you unhappy, you ain't think your sins made Mashiach unhappy, yet he died for you? How dare you be a hypocrite and say that for a man who you grieved for 2,000 years? From the time you were born, you grieved a man. Every sin, every transgression, every act of disobedience, every doubt. You burdened and grieved a man with your sins, and he bore them on his shoulder and in his flesh. How dare you open your mouth and say such a thing? You can't believe in the man and say that. That's how these people turn us into hypocrites and cause us to go to hell. This man didn't have to come do this for us. How we dare say somebody grieving us and you grieve this man every day? Don't make no sense. Leviticus 19 and 17. I'm talking about all this heathen, Gentile, European mindset. Man, flush that garbage down the toilet. That's what's killing us. That's what's killing us. We think like Europeans. We treat each other like Europeans treat people. We supposed to treat each other like the living Alahym, who we claim as our power. These white, I'm talking about these people over here make me sick with the stuff they be putting in our brain, and we stupid enough to listen to it and follow it. Leviticus 19 and 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt not anywise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am Yahuwah. Now I'm going to sit back and show you something. He said you should love your neighbor as yourself. You should love your neighbor as yourself. I need you to get Judges chapter 9, verse 1, because something come to my head on that. And I need 2 Samuel chapter 5. If it ain't 2 Samuel chapter 5, it's going to be 1 Chronicles 11. And if it's both of them, I'm going to read all three of them. Judges chapter 9. Again, and I'm going to reiterate this constantly, just so everybody know. But this ain't got nothing to do with me personally. I got to say, there's no way in the world I could have bounced back that fast if it wasn't a Yahuwah. That means he was trying to teach us something. So hallelujah for Yahushua for that. I mean, he's trying to teach us something. He's trying to show us something to make us complete and mature people in him, that our soul might be saved. This ain't got nothing to do with me. All I was a vessel and a tool for this man to teach you something. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to sit back and tell you, never in my 35 years of being on this earth had I ever been compelled or moved or thought to end my own life like I felt Sunday morning. That there was not a single solitary thing that any human being on this earth could have said that could have changed my mind from that. I was talking to a brother where I could hear the pain in his voice where it was killing him at the thought that I was not going to be alive, trying to persuade me with everything in him not to do it. And all I could do is cry because I hear you, but you can't change my mind. And the fact that y'all put it on my heart to call him, and I ain't calling for an hour, and he telling me a guy put on his heart to call me, and he didn't call me. So when I sit back and look at the whole play, this all Yahuwah. Every last bit of it. Because that's to sit back and show that we do not love and care for each other like he love and care for us. So if we not loving and caring for each other like he care for us, and he gave us the instruction, the commandment, because we know commandment is instruction, and Torah mean instruction, that means we breaking the law and we going to hell. Just that simple. We breaking the law and we going to hell. We can't go to hell for nothing that simple. It's simple as having a care and love for each other. How can we lose our soul for something like that? How can we lose our soul for something like that? How could you see your brother in pain and you wait for your brother to call you when you supposed to call him? How can you see your sister in sorrow and you waiting for her to come see you? You supposed to go see her. You ain't supposed to sit back and wait on that. Imagine how some of y'all would have felt if you know I was like that and I was dead and you sitting back there thinking about, boy, I could have did this and I could have did that. Don't think about what you could have did. Just go do it. You don't even realize the little bit of extending your hand to somebody who in sorrow and feeling loneliness can get them the strength to keep on going another day. We don't think about stuff like that because we wrapped up in what we going through. But Mashiach put everything he was going through to the side for you. This man say, let the cup pass. He say, nevertheless, not my will be done, but thy will be done. I'm going to get up here and die for these people. And they don't deserve it. But I'm thinking about them. I ain't thinking about my sorrow right now. I'm going to put my sorrow to the side because me dying is more important. That I can carry their grief and carry their burden so they can be confident in their afflictions and I can give them rest. We don't think about that. Judges chapter 9 verse 1. Ooh, boy, I'm sweating. Boy, I ain't been on this. Boy, I ain't been on fire like this in a long time, boy. Hallelujah for Yahushua. I ain't been like this in a long time, boy. I was talking to my brother in Detroit. He was like, bro, I can tell. He said, when you've been preaching, it ain't even been the same. He said the precepts would come, but he was like, it wasn't even the same. Well, I'm talking about, boy, don't nobody teach like y'all. Sometimes you got to pay attention to stuff going around you, man. Y'all might be trying to teach you something. He said, Amalek, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren and communed with them and with all the family of his house, of his mother's father's house, saying, speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, which is better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. He said, you need to remember, I'm your bone and your flesh. So when we come back and we look at Genesis 2 and 21, you ain't got to go get it. You can swing around here to 1 Chronicles 11 and 1, though. That man sat back and said, you bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He said, what man ever yet hated his own flesh? So if we bone and flesh, how we hate each other? Because this man said, don't hate your brother in your heart. He said, if you hate your brother in your heart, you abide in darkness. Well, if your brother's in pain and toil and sorrow and you ain't there for him, you hate your brother. You done broke the law. That's the type of stuff, man, that we got to sit back and look at, man. You know what I'm saying? We've been talking about godly sorrows, and we've been talking about a lot of stuff like this here, man. This man trying to do some surgery on your heart, on your mind, trying to get your heart transplant. He's trying to convert your brain from a carnal, worldly thinking person to a heavenly minded, spiritual thinking person, giving you the mind of Yahushua HaMashiach, the mind of Alahym. To where everything you look at it from the perspective of Alahym and not the perspective of a man. When we begin to look at things from the perspective of Alahym and not as a man, now we sitting back knowing that we walking in the Ruach HaKodesh and our souls can be made quick and alive. That whether we be wake or sleep, we will meet Mashiach because we have become him. We got to sit back and look at, I need to become him in every aspect. This thing bigger than not eating swine. Niggas worrying about a feast day and still going to hell. Nigga talking about I keep Shabbat, I don't wear pants, I got a head wrap, you still going to hell. Because your soul ain't right. Your mind ain't right. Your heart ain't right. Your love ain't right. That's what we got to sit back and look at, man. We got to get outside the bounds of all that. We got to literally become Alahym. Alahym love his people. We supposed to love each other just the same way. 1 Chronicles 11:1. Oh boy, my voice might be gone. Look at verse 1. We don't even need 2 Chronicles 11:1. Well, we'll read it. It don't make no difference. I'm already here. Then all Yasharal gathered themselves to David and unto Hebron, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. We are thy bone and thy flesh. 2 Samuel 5. We might not even need it. Yeah, we don't need it because it say the exact same thing. So when we looking at saying bone and flesh, we looking at something. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. Get your Judges chapter 11. Sit down, Elizabeth. You finna be with all that fighting in here. We still got 2 Corinthians chapter 1 on deck. We'll finish it up in a minute. But we're going to sit back and show you how the Alahym are all comfort. And then we'll also show you how Alahym comforted others. So if Alahym is the one of all comfort, and Mashiach is bringing forth the comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, which will comfort us from all our pain and all our sorrow, then, and he said that we ought to love one another as he loved us. And he had that same manner to come comfort us when we were sorrowful, then we ought to do the same. And we're going to also look at places where Mashiach comforted people and they sorrow. See, the thing that we get messed up at is we try to put a cap in a time on how long somebody should be sorrowful or sad for. Because we feel like, okay, they should be over it by now, because you don't necessarily really want to deal with that person's sorrows like that. Most of us don't have that wherewithal and that girding in our minds and our heart to be there for a person for however long it takes. You know what I'm saying? We don't have that type of impatience and endurance and long suffering like Yah has for us. Now, however long it takes, it took 6 months for me, but Yah was there for however long it took. He didn't sit back and say, oh, he ain't writing 2 months. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Cause I'm gonna sit back and tell you, it was people trying to comfort me, and y'all was moving to comfort me too. But just like we read in Psalm 77, though, my soul refused to be comforted. It just refused it. It wouldn't take it. Even though I'm sitting back looking at, just like the words say, I will look upon my infirmities, and I remember the right hand of the Most High, because I understand this is my weakness. This is my trouble. This is not a Yahuwah. But when you that down and you that low, it be sometimes your soul refused to be comforted. You know what I'm saying? And people sit back and look at that like, what's wrong with this nigga, this, that, there, and the third? Because most people have never touched that depth. Sit down. She just told you to sit down and stop it. Stop being hard-headed. Most people ain't never hit that depths of sorrows to get that low. To even be able to even become close to be able to relate or understand that type of sorrow what somebody is going through. That's why Mashiach, he turned around, he could be able to relate. Y'all know, you know it's crazy, right? Before I read this 1 Corinthians chapter 12, you ain't got to get Isaiah 53. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to just tell you the verse, you go back and read it on your own time. But when you look at verse 4, it says, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteem him stricken, smitten of Alahym, and afflicted. And the thing that we look at is, we don't sit back and look at like this man literally carrying all our sorrows and all our grief. He carrying all that. And we read that verse and we'll talk about that verse, but then we don't actually look at the literal application of it. The literal application of this man carrying your sorrows and your griefs. Now, he said, love each other as I have loved you. He loved you enough, just like Isaiah Yeshayahu 53 said, he loved you enough to carry your sorrows and your griefs. But you don't love your brother enough to carry his sorrows and his griefs. This is when Paul said in Galatians chapter 6, did carry ye one another's burdens, fulfilling the law of Mashiach or the instruction of Mashiach. This is what he taught you to do. He taught you to do this by his actions. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, but the Torah and the Tanakh, it point to it. So what we trying to do is we trying to generate and craft in us is literally the mind of Mashiach, the mind of Alahym. He is the Alahym of all comfort. If we say we are his sons and his daughters, then we have to be a people of comfort unto those that are in sorrow, to show forth that we are his Taladim, his taught ones, his disciples. Because that's why we read Isaiah 8 and 16. He say, seal the testimony and the Torah amongst my disciples. That means Yahushua need to be sealed in your inward parts. He say don't strike nothing upon the earth except those who have the seal of the mark of Alahym in their head. That means if you got the seal of Alahym in your forehead, that means his word is in your heart. His law is in your heart. He is inside of you. He has sealed you with it. And if he sealed you with it, you're going to move according to that doctrine. That doctrine of righteousness and kadeshness, the doctrine of mercy, the doctrine of compassion, the doctrine of love. The man said, I drew you with loving kindness. We ought to love each other in the same fashion. In every aspect, not when it's convenient, but all the way through, all the way to the end. Because Alahym said, as long as you're with him, he'll never forsake you. So how can you look at your brother in the body and forsake him? How could you look at your sister in the body and forsake her because you don't want to deal with their trouble? How can we say we the people of Alahym and think like that? How is that possible? 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 23. Make it 25. We ain't got to read 23. Just going to read 20. Make it 24 though. For our comely parts have no need, but Alahym have tempered the body together. Remember, he said we is flesh and his bone. Having given more abundant. Matter of fact, I want you to see by. Look at verse 12. I'm going to work my way down. Meaning I'm going to jump around to a couple verses. Same chapter, but we're just going to move around a couple verses to accentuate that point that where we read about bone and flesh. For as the body is one and have many members, and all the members of that one body being many are one body, so also is Mashiach. Look at verse 14. For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I'm not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I'm not the eye, am I not of the body? It is therefore not of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? And if the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath Alahym set the members every one of them in the body as it hath pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? Now let's look at verse 24. For our comely parts have no need, but Alahym have tempered the body together, giving more abundant honor to the part which lacked. So he said he's going to give more honor to the part that's lacking. Listen to what he said. That there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care one for another. Schism means separation. That means separation. And he said that you should have care one for another. Why? Because he said at the beginning of the law, this is woman, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. And Mashiach looked at his wife, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I'm going to die for her. This is the care I had for her. That's why he said, greater love had no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. And this is the commandment that I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you. He cared enough about you to lay his life down for you. And we don't care enough about each other to lay our life down for each other. And I ain't even talking about literally dying. Because if you ain't even going to be there for your brother in sorrow and misery and pain, I know you're not going to die for him. I know you're not going to die for him. How you going to die for somebody that you can't even hold them up when they suffering? And whether one member suffer, all the members suffer with it. Or one member be honored, all the members rejoice with it. He said, if one member suffer, everybody suffer. Judges chapter 11. Judges 11, verse 34. Y'all all right? Everybody all right? Well, praise be to Yah. Praise be to Yah. Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house. Behold, this is Judges 11 and 34. Behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and with dances. She was his only child, and besides her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, he rent his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto Yahuwah, and I cannot go back. She said unto him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto Yahuwah, do to me according to that which proceed out of thy mouth. For as much as Yahuwah have taken vengeance for thee of thy enemies, even the children of Amnon. And she said unto her father, Let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, 60 days now. You see that there, little Stanley? You see that time frame right there? That's 60 days, ain't it?
Yeah,
See, you wasn't on there last night. We read something in Revelation chapter 9 where it said, for an hour, a day, a month, and a year. That's in Revelation 9 where you sit back again and you see that framework for them 30 days. She said, now, let me alone for 2 months, that I may go up and down upon the mountains and bewail my virginity, I and my fellows. And he said, go. And he sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her companions and bewailed her virginity upon the mountains. Her friends went up there and mourned with her 60 days. 60 days. They was going to be there to mourn and comfort her for 60 days. That if she suffered, they all suffered with her. They didn't sit back and look at her. That's her problem. I ain't going up there for 60 days. I ain't going up there for 2 months. If 60 days what she needs, then 60 days I'm going to be there. He said if one suffer, they all suffer with it. There go an example right there to back that up. Let's look at another place where we look at him being the Alahym of all comfort. Let's go to Genesis 15 and let's look at Alahym comforting somebody. Genesis chapter 15, about verse 12. You know what I'm saying? Niggas might have a lot to say about me, but I guarantee this here, I'm nice with mine. You could bet that. I give praise, thanks to Yahuwah for that. By the way of Yahushua HaMashiach, because he the one gave it. You know what I'm saying? God, whatever anybody thinking. You know what I'm talking about? I thank y'all for that. I could be around here dumb as a box of rocks. Yahuwah saw fit to reveal his son at me, and I'm going to move and I'm going to show him. Verse 12, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. This man is in pain, he in sorrow, he terrified. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards they shall come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in Shalom, and thou shalt be buried in good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. And in that same day Yahuwah made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Mizraim to the great river of Euphrates. Now y'all should already know, because we done dealt with it before. Abraham's getting a vision of something. I'm going to show you the vision that he got. John chapter 8, verse 53. I'm going to show you the vision that he got. He had to comfort Abraham. He had to comfort him. So this is how he did it. John 8 and 51. I like it better. Hallelujah for Yahushua. John 8 and 51. Truly, truly, I say unto you, if a man keep my saying, he shall never see death. Now, we already said, man who loved his brother has passed from death unto life. Mashiach loved his brother to the point he laid his life down for him. He passed from death unto life. He gave you a new commandment that you ought to love one another as he loved you. You don't love your brother enough to take on his comfort, his pain, take on his pain and his sorrow and give him no comfort. Then you gonna see death because you ain't kept his saying. You didn't keep what the man told you. Then said the Yahudim unto him, now we know that thou hast a devil. Abraham is dead and the prophets. And thou say, if a man keep my saying, he shall never taste death. Art thou greater than our father Abraham, which is dead? And the prophets are dead. Whom make thou thyself? Yahushua answered, if I honor myself, my honor is nothing. It is my Father that honor me, of whom you say that he is your Alahym. Yet you have not known him, but I know him. And if I should say I know him not, I shall be a liar like unto you, but I know him and keep his saying. Now, how we going to sit back and say we know this man, and he are Alahym, and we don't love and comfort each other while we in pain and toil and in sorrow? How is that possible? Does anybody got any idea how that could be possible? Because I don't see any way, shape, form, or fashion that could be possible. Now, I'm going to get this word, the Hebrew word for this here again. I was already on it. I don't want to mispronounce it, so hold on. When we look at that word toil, remember now, it means pain, labor, hardship, sorrow, and toil. And the word is,
Strong's H 6093.
hold on,
At seventh.
and we'll spell it out, y'all willing, another day. You know what I'm saying? We'll sit back and look at that, man. The pain, the toil, the hardship, hard living, that we would be there for each other in the midst of that. We would be there in the midst of that. You know what's the biggest problem of our people sometimes? We can see our people going in the wrong direction, doing something that's spiritually stupid and retarded. We won't even say nothing. Won't even say nothing. You know what I'm saying? You can sit back and see your brother and your sister do something stupid. When the law tell you, rebuke thy neighbor, don't suffer no sin upon him. We'll sit back there and look stupid. We'll sit back there and see they doing something that's outright wrong and don't say a word. How you love that person? How you love that person? Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Then said the Yahudim unto him, thou art not yet 50 years old. Thou hast seen Abraham? And hast thou seen Abraham? Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, before Abraham war, I am. Do you not realize when he seen that burning furnace going through them two pieces, he saw Mashiach and he rejoiced after he was in that terror? He gave him comfort. He gave him a glimpse of the salvation that would come unto the sea. It's the Alahym of all comfort. This man was in great terror and pain, and Alahym saw fit to give him comfort. Now, how we not going to sit back and follow this man saying when he do this? I want you to look at Romans chapter 15. I want you to look at verse 1. And get you John chapter 11. Romans 15 and 1. Listen to what he say. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Mashiach said clearly in Matthew chapter 20, I came not to be served or not to be ministered unto, but to minister. He was the strong and he came to bear our weaknesses. Now, how you going to sit back and see your brother weak and you in a strong state and you're not going to bear his weaknesses? You're going to seek to please yourself. How you going to sit back and say you are Mashiach when Mashiach was selfless and you thinking about yourself? You're not thinking about your brother. You're not thinking about bearing his infirmities and bearing his pain and making his pain yours like Mashiach did for you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing that. You sitting back looking at, I don't care. Because that's bothering me. That's affecting me. You going to hell. It's simple as that. Ain't no way around it. He said, let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even Mashiach pleased not himself. But as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me. Now let's go look at something in Samuel, because it was some stuff I was looking at in Samuel. I want you to look in 2 Samuel chapter 16. Lizzie, sit down somewhere and be quiet. He ain't coming. Elizabeth. I'm a on your behind. Sit down somewhere. Listen to what he say. And when David was a little past the top of the hill, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of asses saddled, and upon them 200 loaves of bread, and 100 bunches of raisins, and 100 summer fruits, and a bottle of wine. Listen to what he say, and a bottle of wine. He had 200 loaves of bread and a bottle of wine. And the king said unto Ziba, what mean thou by these? And Ziba said, the asses be for the king's household to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine, that such as be faint in the wilderness may drink. And the king said, where is thy master's son? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he abide at Jerusalem. For he said, today shall the house of Yasharal restore me the kingdom of my father. Now you see that back when he said these things were for. This is the Alahym of all comfort. Listen to what he said he brought through. He said the asses be for the king's household to ride on, and the bread and the summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine to such as them that faint in the wilderness. Well, we already know from the law that the wilderness represents sin. But we're going to sit back and I'm going to look at the Hebrew word for this right here. And again, I know it ain't that many of y'all on here, but just for anybody to come watch this later, please don't think this got anything to do with me individually. All y'all just use me for a purpose. That's all it was. Just a means to be able to have a living example to instructing people by. Ain't got nothing to do with me. When we look at the word wilderness, we see midbar. And the word there, we got pasture, inhabited land, wilderness, large tracts, you know what I'm saying? Mouth as organ of speech. You know what I'm saying? But then we sit back and look at mouth or organ of speech. You know what I'm saying? So he say those that are in the wilderness that they might drink. Those whose mouths are parched. Now, since that came to my mind, praise be to Yah for that there. Hallelujah for Yahusha. So then we turn around, get Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 10. Hold this 2 Samuel 16. Because you know it's Passover. So one way or another, I'm going to work wine in there some way. We worked wine in there yet last night, didn't we? When they say they sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Work that in about Mashiach. I think, y'all, I'm talking about even as depressed and as low and down as I was, I think y'all, boy, them skills ain't drop off. It might have not been coming with the same fervor that it may have came in the past, but the skills did not deteriorate. That's the sign of where I already knowing that y'all never departed in the midst of all that sorrow. He never left. Because he would have left. Now, I'm going to be honest with you because that's just me. Because of how I am. See, I'm going to tell y'all something before I keep going. Because Kira heard it. But the Leah and Darius and Stanley, y'all ain't here. My mind does not move like the average person. I'm not an ordinary dude. So I don't think like an ordinary dude. Like I say, from the outside looking in, a nigga would think I was so sorrowful and ready to go back to the dust because my woman left me. When they not sitting back looking at, I look at things a lot differently. I look at that my objective was to marry this person. So if I didn't marry this person, that means that I failed. So then I'm looking at myself as a failure. And then I'm looking at if I'm not capable of bringing in and marrying this woman, then I'm looking at, am I even capable of leading this man's people? So then I begin to look at myself and look at every misstep and failure to the point where I'm extremely hard on myself about it. And then this can begin to wear away at my self-confidence, my self-value, and my worth. Then I begin to believe that I'm worthless. Even if y'all is comforting me in the midst of this, because I am extremely hard on myself. So like I say, from the outside looking in, nigga looking at this nigga sad about a woman. It ain't about that woman. Not to that extent. It's bigger than that. Along with other things that were going along with that. You know what I'm saying? The same way I sit back and look at this woman tell me, well, you did this to me and you did this to me and you made me feel like this. Then I take to sit back and look at it. I take that on. It make me feel bad. And then I'm sitting back looking at how could you do that? And I'm extremely hard on myself. I ain't forgiving myself for it. The person may have forgave me for it, but I'm not forgiving myself. So therefore, it pushes you deeper down in that hole. Then I sit back and look at, now I'm just saying like for me, right? I might drop something preaching wise. And somebody might think, boy, that was one of the hardest lessons I ever heard. That was one of the hardest sermons I ever heard. And to me, in my mind, I'm like, that was pure trash. I believe that was garbage. I believe I could have did better than that. I believe I could have did this or did that because I am extremely hard and probably too self-critical on myself. I know it's them people that done came to me and like, bro, that lesson was cold, boy. Them was some hard precepts. And I be like, hey, appreciate it, praise y'all. But in my mind, I'm like, you know, to me, that was kind of weak. I might not tell y'all that. You know what I'm saying? This is the first time I'm actually saying this to y'all. That it'll be times where you think, boy, bro, brought one. And I'll be thinking, you know, that was kind of weak, B. You know what I'm saying? Could have came a little better than that, big. That was weak. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm real hard on myself. Too hard. You know what I'm saying? Which is played into the point of why that depression was so bad, because I'm too hard on myself. Way too hard. What I just asked for? Bread in the summer fruit. Bread in the summer fruit. Come over here to Genesis chapter 2. I don't know what I asked for before that, but don't worry about it. You remember what I asked for, little muffin, before that? Any of y'all remember what I said before that? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, Zechariah.
Zechariah, I appreciate you, Derek. Zechariah 9 and 10. We'll get around there in a second. I appreciate you, sir. Genesis chapter 3. I didn't want to read something in Genesis chapter 3 real fast, about verse 5. Little buddy, little Iggy, it's all right, B. Calm down, man. Somebody bring you a fig Newton in a couple minutes. All right now, Isaiah. Hush that noise up. Make it verse 3. 3 and 3. Bereshit, Genesis 3 and 3. But the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Alahym hath said, the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Alahym hath said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. The serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. For Alahym know that in the day that you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desired to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them were both open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. Now we sitting back looking at, right? And I'm gonna give y'all some. Now we've looked at this tree, right? And we sat back and we looked at it to know that that's a tree that they shouldn't have ate from. Now we're gonna turn around and look at this tree and see that this tree can still be a similar to the Mashiach. Now I know it's gonna be some niggas hear this and be like, boy, that nigga is blaspheming. But look at what they said just happened. She saw it was good for food and pleasant to the eyes, and it was to make somebody wise. When she took the fruit thereof and did eat, their eyes were open that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together. So I want y'all to come back and look at something. Let's knock this Zechariah 9 and 10 out. Then we're going to swing to John chapter 15. Then we're going to turn around and we're going to look at Matthew chapter 13. I want y'all to sit this here and get it lined up. Zechariah 9 and 10, John chapter 15 and 1, Matthew chapter 13. Matthew 13 and about verse 23. Get you 1 Corinthians 1 and 27. John chapter 9 verse 39. Revelation chapter 16 verse 15. That is Zechariah 9 and 10. John chapter 15 verse 1. Matthew chapter 13 verse 23. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 27. Revelation chapter 16 verse 15. And we're going to sit back and see how this was a tree that was good for food. I didn't get pleasant to the eyes. One that would make one wise. And when they partook of this tree, their eyes were open. They seen that they were naked. And they covered themselves. Because remember, he said he came and brought them summer fruit. Now, we already talked about last night and the night before about the tree that had the seed in itself that brought fruit after his own kind. We know Mashiach with the first fruit. He's summer fruit. He said, I brought summer fruit, I brought bread, and I brought wine for them that are faint in the wilderness that they might drink. We looking at mouth. You faint in the wilderness, that means you're weary. If you're weary, that means you're thirsty. That means your mouth part, you ain't got nothing to drink. Good grief.
Participants in this conference, please announce yourselves.
Call drop. Zechariah 9 and 10. Let's go. I got to get there first. I know y'all already there. I ain't there yet. I'll be done in a minute. I'm at 52 minutes. Zechariah 9 and 10. 9 and 11. Listen to what he say. As for thee, also, by the blood of the covenant, take, drink. This is my blood for the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. As for the blood of the covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Turn ye to the strongholds, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. You sit back and you look at the stronghold. Mashiach is the stronghold. That's why Paul told you in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, the casting down of strongholds, right? The casting down of strongholds, right? Bringing every thought into captivity of Mashiach. Because this man that gave you blood for the prisoners who was sitting back looking at, they was in the pit where there was no water. See, you was in the wilderness, you ain't had no water. That's why this man came to bring you wine to drink. Because the new covenant bring the Ruach HaKodesh. This man sit back and look at, the reason why we reading this here is because this man coming under David, knowing David is fleeing from Absalom. See, let me set the stage of everything that's going on. I ain't set the stage of what was going on in 2 Samuel 16. So forgive me for that glaring omission. Let me set the stage of what's going on. Absalom is seeking to take over the kingdom from his father David. He's looking to usurp the throne. Because I know Kira asked, what was the relationship between David and Absalom? Absalom is David's son. Absalom had a desire to be king. In order to be king, he had to kill his daddy. So he's going about ways to win the hearts of the people, to cause the people to be on his side, where they could sit back and see it would be just before him to kill David, his father, to take the throne. So David flees from the face of Absalom. And in the midst of fleeing from Absalom, we see a man come bringing forth raisins, 200 loaves of bread, summer fruit, and wine to comfort those who were in affliction, fleeing for their life. Because he sat back and looked at, if they suffering, I'ma suffer with them. I will not forsake them in their affliction. I will not forsake them in their pain. I will not forsake them in their sorrow. But I will be just as my Alahym is. I will comfort them. I will comfort them. I will be a stay and a defense for them. Because I'm going to sit back and I'm going to love them as I love myself. Because if I was in that same position, I would want somebody to do it for me. See, you sit back and look at it, right? If you going through something, right, you would want somebody to be there for you and to be an ear for you. You know, a lot of times where a lot of people mess up at when somebody going through something, they think that they ought to fix it or they want to fix it. Sometimes you can't fix it. Sometimes you just got to be there. Sometimes you just got to be the ear to listen. Sometimes you just got to be there for somebody to make sure that they know that they're not alone. Because one of the key things that get people to lead people down the pathway of depression and then the pathway to suicide is because they feel alone. Because they feel like there's nobody there for them. Because their friends and family don't seem to care or are indifferent. Because I'm going to tell y'all something, man, and I noticed this here just in certain situations that I've seen. I haven't seen it literally in the flesh too often. I only know of one person that I can recall that committed suicide. That was my homeboy brother. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know they're going to say he did it behind a woman, but I don't know why he did it, to be honest, because none of us were in his brain. So I can't sit back and say why. That's just a prevailing theory of why he did it. I know of some people who have committed suicide, but I can only recall that I only know one person personally, who I knew personally, who did so. But I'm going to tell you something, man. Most people, when they get to that point, they are already extending out, crying out for help to somebody long before they got to that point. Long before they got to that point, they were seeking somebody to be there for them. And most of the time, most of us do not recognize that cry. We don't recognize that cry for help because we're not looking to recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Because we look at a person being that sad as they just being negative. And they just need to try to get better. You know what I'm saying? You putting it all on them. When you sit back and you look at the word say two are better than one. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be the person that wants to carry that with that person. They want to pass that ball off to somebody else. Here, you carry it. Here, you carry it. Here, you carry it. And then after that ball has done got passed so many times, this person begins to look at the people who say they love and care about me. They actually don't love and care about me. And if they don't love and care about me, why would I love and care about myself? And this is how a person gets to that point. Then when a person gets to that point and begins to talk like that, you want to say they selfish. When in actuality, you selfish because you didn't care about their pain. You didn't care about their suffering. You didn't care. Because you wanted somebody else to carry it because you didn't want to carry it. That's what people do. Oh, you want to kill yourself, you selfish. Well, when this person was reaching out to you, when they was asking for somebody to help them carry this pain to make it a little easier to deal with, you didn't want to do it. You wanted somebody else to do it. And that person wanted somebody else to do it. And that person wanted somebody else to do it. Then when the person actually do it, then you around here, man, I had a feeling he was going to do this. Well, if you had a feeling he was going to do it, why you ain't go to him then? How can you sit there and say you feel like you knew somebody was going to kill themselves, but you didn't go to him? Because you were selfish. See, that's what it better. See, that's the reality of it. Ain't nobody don't nobody want to hear that because everybody wants to believe that they're a caring, compassionate person and they care for people. But I got to put limits on it. You're going to limit your way to hell. You say you in the body of Yahushua HaMashiach can do that. You're going to limit yourself to hell. You got to stop thinking like a Gentile and start thinking like your Alahym. Because your Alahym say, I will not forsake you and abandon you. How is your Alahym going to carry you through all your strife? Your Alahym didn't sit back and look at, shoot, I don't care now about what he going through. Yahushua didn't sit back and say somebody else going to have to die for these people because I ain't dying for them. Somebody else got to carry their sorrows. I ain't going to carry. Peter, you carry him. Philip, you carry him. Thomas, you carry him. Matthew, you carry him. John, you carry him. He didn't do that. He said, I'm going to carry y'all's and everybody else's. Past, present, and future. I'm going to carry them all. He never looked to pass the buck. He said, come to me. Now how we going to sit back and say he and me and you can't sit back and you ain't going to come to them? Mashiach could come to you in your sorrows. How are we going to sit back? I'm going to show you how hypocritical people is. I done told y'all this before. I'm going to show you how big a hypocrite people is. You can get Matthew, what I said, John chapter 15, verse 1. You can go and swing on around now. I'm going to show you how big a hypocrite people is. Whatever sorrow, whatever affliction, whatever pain, whatever toil, whatever matter you got, you go to prayer to Yahushua for. Everybody go to him and pour out their heart to the man and cry out to the man and ask him to carry the stuff. But you won't do it for somebody else. You're going to hell. Everybody go to him. He said, love your brothers like I loved you. Why your brother can't come to you and you carry it with him? But you gonna come burden this man with your stuff. You a hypocrite. You telling this man to do something you won't do. Don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. Where is the love for each other at? Where is the compassion? Where is the mercy? This man say carry each other's burdens. Why we ain't carrying them? That's too much for me to carry. That's too heavy. That weighing me down. You's a bastard and not a son then. Because the son carried everybody's. John 15 and 1. He said, I am the true vine and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that bear not fruit, he take away, and every branch that bear fruit, he purge it, that it might bring forth more fruit. Matter of fact, John chapter 12 is better than what I want. 12 and 23. That's what I really want. See, now, we'll sit back and look at with Mashiach being thrown off in that sepulcher. You know what I mean? And he the fruit, the tree that got the seed in itself, bring forth fruit after his own kind. That's the tree in the midst of the garden. Because you got to remember, he was taken to a garden where they killed him at, right? According to John chapter 18, they took him in the garden, right? He was a tree right there in the midst of the garden. He said that his fruit was good for food. Huh? When they come to that grave, he the first fruit. That fruit good for food. You know that wave offering was waved before the Father, before Alahym, before Abba Yahuwah. You know they ain't throw that fruit away. They ate it. Summer fruit. That fruit good for you to eat is good for food. Once you eat that, it's going to make you wise. And once you eat of it, you're going to realize you're naked and you need a cover. And that's Yahushua. Now, how you going to sit back and say you want this man to cover you? You won't cover your brother. When that man sat back and seen them morning, he came up and said, what manner of communication are these that ye are sad? Then he turned around and comforted them men in their sorrows and their burdens. He ain't leave them. He ain't say, nigga, get over it. He ain't say, nigga, you been sad too long. He ain't say, your sadness making me sad. I got to get rid of you. He stood there with him. He said, I'll never leave you. I'll always be with you. I'm always with you to the end of the world. You're supposed to be with your brother to the end of the world. No matter how far you go. If he's sad for 6 years, you walk with him. If he's sad for 20 years, you walk with him. If he's sad for 15 minutes, you sad with him for 15 minutes then. That's what Mashiach do. That's what we ought to do. If we ain't doing it, we putting our souls in danger because we don't have the love of Mashiach in us. We faking the funk. We got to get past all that simplistic stuff of the law. It's time to deal with this weightier stuff, this heavier stuff that's going to save your soul. Worry about some swine. Worry about some feast day. You ain't even keeping them right. We look at that Passover, and it's a day when this man died for everybody, carrying your burdens, carrying your sorrows. That's what this week is about. But we don't do it because we don't care. We want to be seen of men. Look at me. I'm Passover ready. I got my unleavened bread. We got the wine on deck. I got the lamb. You ain't got nothing but death in you because ain't no love in you. That's our problem. Ain't nowhere in the world any sister or brother can feel like they can't come to nobody with their problems because nobody don't care. It should never be like that. Nobody should never feel like they alone in Mashiach. Nobody. Nobody. That should never happen. If it happens, we ought to be ashamed. Outright ashamed. 12 and 23, John. Oh, Lord, I'm sweating. Yahushua answered them, saying, the hour is come that the Son of Man should be esteemed. Truly, truly, I say unto you, except the corn of wheat fall in the ground and die, it abide alone. But if it die, bring forth much fruit. He said, bring forth much fruit. Say the seed is in itself. The seed is the word of Alahym. Let's see if Matthew 13:23 back that up. Matter of fact, make it Luke 8 and 11 because I like it better. Hallelujah for the word. I thank y'all for the word. I'm sitting here telling you now. I know it couldn't have been nothing of Yahuwah. It ain't nothing but Wednesday. It ain't been nothing but 72 hours. It was the strength came back on Monday. You know what I'm saying? But I was at a point like I'm ready to die and it's gone just that fast. This man sat back and let me know, put that sorrow out of your heart and get back on it. That's over with. What I had to show you, what I had to teach, that's done. Hopefully you learn from it. I already know when he bring you that low, that type of sorrow, they ain't do nothing but to conform you into Hamashiach. That's all that is. You sit back and look at it. How many people be around here preaching about sorrows and enduring sorrows and affliction? How many people sitting back talking about bearing each other's sorrow? How many people telling us that and teaching us that? How many of us teaching us to be conformed? How many people teaching us about godly sorrow or what worldly sorrow is? Because worldly sorrow work death. How many people telling us to love each other like this man loved each other and to be interconnected as a body is supposed to? Ain't nobody telling us that. Luke 8 and 11. I'll make it 5 though. Make it 4 though. Luke 8 and 4. And when much people were gathered together and would come to him out of every city, he spake by a parable. A sower went out to sow his seed. A sower went out to sow his seed. All you got to do is go back and look at Genesis chapter 1. The father is the sower. He's sowing a seed because he planted a fruit yielding tree with an herb yielding seed and the fruit yielding tree, which had the seed in itself, which brought fruit after his own kind. So when the father is sitting here telling you about, when Mashiach sitting here telling you about the sower went out to sow a seed, this taking you right back to the Torah. It's taking right back to Genesis, taking you right back to the law. And he said, and he sowed, and some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the falls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. If it lacked, you see what he said? Because it lacked moisture. Remember he said, you prisoners of hope, bringing you out of pit where there was no water. Those who were in the wilderness that were about to faint, he brought them wine because there wasn't no moisture. That's what you get. That's what you get. Go sit down somewhere. You go sit down too. Go in your room with that noise, Lizzie. That's what you get. You don't get no sympathy. That's what you get. Lizzie, go in your room. No, she just hit her head on the table, swinging on that chair. That's what she get. I bet she won't swing on it no more. Bet she won't swing on it no more. I guarantee you that one. I bet you every time she go to grab that chair to swing on it, she gonna think about that table. And she be like, I ain't gonna do that. Then he say verse 6, and some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, I'm sorry, I read it already. I actually missed that verse. Didn't read all the 5. Let me read that again. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. And the other fell on good ground and sprang up and bare fruit 100-fold. And when he had said these things, he cried, "He that have ears to hear, let him hear." And his disciples asked him, saying, "What might this parable be?" And he said, "Unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of Alahym, but to others in the parables, that seeing they might not see, and hearing they might not understand." Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of Alahym. Those by the wayside are they that hear. Then come the devil and take away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. They on the rock are they which, when they hear and receive the word with joy, and these have no root, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation fall away. They that which fell among the thorns are they which, when they have heard, go forth and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection. But that on the good ground are they which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it, and bring forth fruit with patience. See, in Hebrews 12, it tell you about running the race with patience, and looking to the author and finisher of your faith, Yahushua HaMashiach, lest you faint and be weary, as a major contradiction against itself, because he called for himself up for sinners. That's a major contradiction. See, the thing that we looking at is because he heard the word, because he was that seed, the seed that was in itself, that brought fruit after his own kind. Now we can sit around and come around and look at that. We can be partakers of that fruit being the word. You know what I'm saying? He said he came to render a man according to the fruit of his doings. So the fruit of your doings is going to be contingent on the seed that's in your heart. So you got a good seed and you got a bad seed, and the fruit thereof. He said a good tree can't bring forth evil fruit, and an evil tree can't bring forth good fruit. So you're going to sit back and look at it. Now this is a tree that was fat fruit, that was good for food. That fruit that you sitting back looking at is the fruit, the everlasting life, a kadesh. Let's just look and see if Romans chapter 6 and Hebrews chapter 12 back that up. Let's look at it. Because we're seeing that Mashiach is the tree in the midst of the garden. Excuse me. Romans 6 and 20. He said, "For when you were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. What fruit had ye then in those things whereof you are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death." We still holding 1 Corinthians 1 and 30. Just bear with me. Well, 1 and 27. "But now, being made free from sin and become servants to Alahym, you have fruit unto Kadesh in the end everlasting life." So because Mashiach heard the word and with patience and endured, and Alahym lifted him up, he brought forth fruit unto Kadesh. Now if we turn around and we come to him in that same seed, which is in itself, that same word fall in our hearts, and then we with patience carry it, then we can bring forth to be partakers of that same fruit that will sanctify us. Because we see that that fruit is good for food. The same way we look at that tree in Revelation 22 or in Ezekiel 47 that bring forth fruit in its season, and it's for the healing of the nations. You know what I'm saying? We sit back and look at that fruit that come up off of that tree. That fruit in the midst of the garden is that same tree that was in the midst of the garden in John. And that fruit is good for food. It's the fruit that's going to bear us to everlasting life. See, in Hebrews 12, he said we don't got to go get it. He said that the chastising is so that we might bring forth the peaceable fruits of his righteousness, to be partakers of his kadeshness. So when we look at Mashiach and we say he the tree in the midst of the garden, and we got to sit back and look at it. This is a tree that's pleasant to the eyes. And we sit back and look at this is a tree that's going to make me wise. Wise unto salvation. And we're going to sit back and look at the fruit is good for food. That's why you say my flesh is meat indeed. When you look at a piece of fruit, what they call the outside of it, they call it flesh. You get an apple, they say the flesh of the apple. That's what they say about the fruit, the flesh of the fruit. Same concept. I'm finna get it ready to wrap this up. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 1 and 30. I ain't even get all the way down to 2 Corinthians chapter 1 like I wanted to. Most High willing, I got tomorrow. I got time. If he spare my life, I got time. He spared my life. I got time to work with him. Y'all willing he keep me alive. Y'all willing he keep me alive. 1 and 27. 1 Corinthians. Make it 26. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But Alahym have chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Alahym have chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. And the base things of the world and the things which are despised. Alahym have chosen. Hath Alahym chosen, yea, the things which are not, to bring to naught the things that are, that no flesh should esteem in his presence. But of him are ye in Yahushua HaMashiach, who is of Alahym made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption, that according as it is written, he that esteem, let him esteem in the master. You know, the knowledge of Yahushua HaMashiach will be able to make you wise unto salvation. Let's look at that in 2 Timothy chapter 3 and about verse 13. And then we'll get to Revelation 16 and 15, because it said after their eyes were opened. And I also mentioned John 9:39. We'll read John 9:39 before we read Revelation 16 and 15. But we're going to read just 2 Timothy 3 and 13 real fast. And then we'll finish 2 Samuel 16 and we'll call it a night. Because it's 9 o'clock. 2 Timothy 3 and 13, 3 and 14. 2 Timothy 3 and 14. I'm going to tell y'all something before I read this here, right? Every single solitary thing that Alahym take you through, and whether, you know what I'm saying, whether it be tribulation, whether it be affliction, whether it be sorrows, is to produce some manner of fruit to everlasting life. It's to be able to purge you, to make you pure, to make you stronger, to make you greater in Yahushua HaMashiach. It's to form his son in you and conform you to his son's image. You know what I'm saying? That even when you see, and I wanted to get to this in this 2 Corinthians chapter 1, but most high willing, I'm going to get to it on tomorrow. But the suffering and the death that you seen that was working in me was to in turn to work life in you. You know what I'm saying? See, and most high willing, I'm going to go through that and I'm going to break that down with Paul, and we're going to look at examples for that. But the death that you seen that was working in me was to work life in you. That wasn't just no random stuff. That just wasn't for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Only those that got ears to hear and eyes to see is going to be able to see what was manifested over the last 6 months and lay it to their heart that their soul might be saved. You know what I'm saying? That's real talk now. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and have been assured of knowing of whom thou hast learned them. And that from a child thou hast known the Kadesh scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Yahushua HaMashiach. When you sit back and look at it, it was a tree to make one wise. That fruit of the tree, that's the seed which is in itself, which fruit is after its own kind, is able to make you wise that your soul might be saved. We know the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. Yahushua has been made wisdom unto you. And so if we sit back and look at it, sons reverence and fear and respect their father. So when we turn around and we partake of that fruit, then we're going to learn to be able to be wise like Yahushua was, and that he was heard and that he feared. And we'll learn the obedience by the things that we suffered, that we might become sons because we seen that that fruit was good and it was able to make us wise. Because that's what we after. We want that reverence. We want that respect for our Father. That's what sit back and move you, that your objective of going to hell is not just out of I don't want to go, but you move that where you have this reverence and respect for love for Yahuwah through Yahushua, that you walk as he walked. And when we look at it, he carried our weaknesses and carried our infirmities and carried our sorrows, and then taught us that we ought to love each other in the same fashion, and that he told us that we ought to do it one more time. Sit your behind down somewhere. And that we ought to bear one another's infirmities and weaknesses like Mashiach bare it all. See, I didn't get to the examples of that because I'm running a little long. Most high willing, I work that in throughout the rest of the week. Good grief.
Welcome. There are 4 participants in this conference. Please announce yourself.
That I'll be able to work that in through the rest of the week. You know what I'm saying? The way you see him bearing each other's weakness. I mean, you know that when you see him healing the lame and the sick and feeding the people. And when the woman was vexed with the with the issue of blood and all these things. And he said, I felt virtue coming out of me. He bared these people weaknesses. He bared their sorrows. Like I called for John 11, we didn't get round that. When he seen Lazarus was dead in the morning and all the pain and the suffering, he bared that with these people. He carried that for these people. All the weaknesses that we had, like I told you, they put the blindfold on him so he would know what it is to be blind. He carried that weakness. Childbirth is a form of weakness. He bared that infirmity with you. When the people were sorrowful, he sorrowed with them. He bared that with them. He knows what it's like to be hungry. He knows what it's like to be homeless. He knows what it's like to be naked. You know what I'm saying? Even when you sit back and look at when they came to him and he was dumb and he couldn't speak, he wouldn't speak. He knows what it's like to be a mute. You know what I'm saying? Whatever manner of weakness that you could come up with, whatever manner of sorrow, whatever manner of pain, he took on the pain of sin. Because sin is supposed to be taken out on the person who committed it. That blood is supposed to be on that person's hand. So he bared every adulterer, every fornicator, every liar, every murderer, every Shabbat breaker, every unclean person, every covetous person, every malicious person, every blasphemer, every idolater, every weakness of the flesh that you can think of, he took it. That's why he say he didn't take on him the nature of Alahym. He took on the seed of Abraham that he might be a faithful and merciful high priest in pertaining to the things and the reconciliation of the people. He took on your weaknesses and he carried them. He took your sorrows on and he carried them. So you had to turn around and sit back and look at. Then he instructed you plainly, as I have loved you, love each other, that the world might know you are my disciples. So that's the mind frame that we have to start developing and looking at. You know what I'm saying? When we develop that mind frame and that thought process, then we'll be on our way. And to that point, we will never be conformed fully into Mashiach because we'll be lacking that greatest element, which is that love that he had for us. That's the greatest thing we lack. John 9:39. Remember it said when they took of this fruit, their eyes were open. That's the same way when you can sit back and look at when Saul went blind when the light shined on his eyes. But when he partook of that fruit of that tree, his eyes was open. Then he could see Mashiach. He said, I wanted you to be able to know that just one and to see that just one and to know his will. And Yahushua said, for judgment I come into this world, that they which see not might see, and they which see might be made blind. You see that there? Because when they partook of the fruit, they couldn't see. But when they seen, they knew they were naked. He said those that see not, that they might see. See, we sitting back looking at that tree is a similitude of Mashiach, that he opened your eyes. When he see open your eye, you know you need to be saved. Revelation 16:15. You able to see the sun then. You able to partake. 16 and 15. Ooh, I need a haircut. I think I'm going to grow my hair out a little bit, though. Behold, I come as a thief. Baruch is he that watch and keep his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. See, once your eyes are open to the light is shine into your eyes, to the glorious gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, and you able to see, then you will put him on, that you will make no provisions for the lust of the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. That's what you're sitting back and you're looking at. Open up them eyes, you're able to see. You open up them eyes, you know you need a covering. You know you need Mashiach. You know you need your Alahym. 2 Samuel 16, though. Listen, you want your butt beat. That's what you want. You want your butt about 4 shades darker. So when we look at that verse 2 again, and most high willing, I'm going to go into it in more detail on tomorrow. When it says that the king said unto Ziba, what mean thou by these? And he's like, the asses for the king to ride, household to ride on, but the bread and summer fruit are for the young man to eat, and the wine for those that be faint. So even when you was in the midst of that there, his man came to comfort you. Mashiach came to comfort you with bread and summer fruit. The bread being his flesh. The fruit, the everlasting life to bring you forth to Kadesh. The wine is the covenant. The covenant is the Ruach HaKadosh, which is a part of it, because I make a new covenant with you. Not according to the covenant I made with your fathers when they were and came up out of Mizraim, and my covenant, which they did not keep. You know what I'm saying? This covenant is springing as a well unto everlasting life. So even in the midst of that suffering, he came to give him comfort. So you sit back looking at when Ziba comes unto David, he come to give them the comfort of everlasting life, because he looked at his ears, my brother's in sorrow and he is in need, and I will come and I will comfort him. It was something in my head that I want to. Matthew 25 is where we'll start. Told y'all. Because I told y'all that I would sit back and say this here. I got to read it off the app. Well, I got one more thing to read in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, but Matthew 25. Matthew 25 and verse 34. Matthew 25 and verse 34. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For when I was hungered, you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. You see this here? Somebody hungry and you feed them and they thirsty and you giving them drink. The same thing we see Ziba doing under David, right? Is that not what Ziba is doing for David and the men that's with him? They were hungry, so he brought them bread and summer fruit. They were thirsty, so he brought them something to drink. Wow. He said, I was a stranger and you took me in. Naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when we saw thee a hungered and fed thee, or thirsty or gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Truly I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of these, the least of my brethren, you have done it unto me. Now this man said clear as day, I give you a new commandment, that you love each other as I have loved you, that the whole world might know that you my disciples. So if you see this person and you say this is a brother in Mashiach because he do the will of Alahym, he been immersed into Mashiach's death, and you see him sorrowed and you don't comfort him, and you see him hungry and you don't feed him, you see him in pain and you don't heal him, you see him naked, yeah.
Oh, never mind.
All right. You see him naked and you don't clothe him, you didn't do that to Mashiach. Listen what he say. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his malachim. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when saw we thee a hungered or a thirst or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Truly I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not unto me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Do you not realize that this man say you are cursed into everlasting fire if you don't do this for your brother? Do you not realize that this man say if you don't do that, you going to hell? Do you not realize how serious that is? That this man say if you did not do that to the least of these my brethren, you didn't do it to me, so therefore you are going to hell? Now that's tight. I'm talking about extra tight. Tighter than a fat woman trying to put on a two-piece bikini. What you gonna do with that? That means if you look at your brother, the least of your brother, and you see any manner of sorrow, affliction, whatever the case may be going on with that person, and you don't come to him, you didn't come to Mashiach. And Mashiach on words say you going into everlasting punishment. And you going into the lake of fire. In the everlasting fire prepared for the Satan and his angels. 2 Corinthians chapter 1. Verse 3. Blessed be Alahym, even the Father of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, the Abba of mercies and the Alahym of all comfort, who comfort us in all tribulation. That, listen to what he say, and I'm going to get into this in a lot more detail. Who comfort us in all our tribulation, that comfort us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort where we of ourselves are comforted of Alahym. Ooh, hallelujah for Yahushua in the word.